Okay, well, we have quorum, so I will officially call the meeting to order. This is the February 22nd meeting of the Human Rights Commission, Iowa City Human Rights Commission. Let's do roll call. I am here. Ashley Lindley.
Present.
Mark Priest.
Here.
Roger Lasala.
Here.
Bijou Maliabo is currently not here. Okay, I'm going to try this. I was practicing this one. Tony Savannah Paneth. No, Savannah. Okay, you say it again.
Stephen Topina.
Stephen Topina.
Stephen Topina.
Stephen Topina. Stephen Topina. Okay.
Here.
Practice is perfect.
You're here. You are here. Since I said it 8 times, you're here
Yes.
8 times. Siri Brune, not here. Sylvia Johns, not here. And Ali Ahmed, currently not here. Okay. Next order on the agenda, next item on the agenda is the land acknowledgement, which will be read by Ashley Lindley.
All right. We meet today in the community of Iowa City, which now occupies the homelands of Native American nations to whom we owe our commitment and dedication. The area of Iowa City was within the homelands of Iowa, Meskwaki, Sac, and because history is complex and time goes back far beyond memory, we also acknowledge the ancient connections of many other Indigenous peoples here. The history of broken treaties and forced removal that dispossessed Indigenous peoples of their homelands was and is an act of colonization and genocide that we cannot erase. We implore the Iowa City community to commit to understanding and addressing these injustices as we work toward equity, restoration, and reparations.
Thank you. Next item is approval of the meeting minutes. So I'll start with, I'll entertain a motion to approve, and then we'll discuss once that's been made.
So move.
Second.
Okay, moved by Mark Priest and seconded by Roger Lasara. Discussion. Any amendments or changes to the minutes as you've seen them from last month?
They looked good to me.
As well, I had a chance to look over. Any objections or changes or? Nope. Hearing none, we will see. Been moved and seconded. All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 5-0.
Commissioner. Can you hear us okay? I can see you.
That Ali?
Yeah, hello, how are you?
Here you go.
You guys can hear him pretty good.
When he unmutes, yeah, I can hear him through my computer.
Okay.
I don't know, I think that was through mine.
I was gonna say, it didn't sound like anything was coming from
Which
my
is
general
unusual,
area.
Because I got my computer muted. I had my volume all the way down. I could hear him from somewhere. Okay, minutes are approved. Public comments. So I see we have a couple members of the public here. So any comment from anybody in the public for items not on the agenda? Okay, hearing none. Next agenda item is the Youth Awards for May 11th. So Stephanie, we talked about this last month as far as the location change. Was there anything else new about?
Well, it's starting at 6 with the reception.
Okay.
So we'll have like hors d'oeuvres, light refreshments, beverages. And then we'll start this ceremony promptly at 7. And I still am anticipating for it to only be, 45 minutes at the most.
Okay.
And
All
we'll have
commissioners,
the-
is the public invited or is it just?
Yeah, it's open to the community, and the photographer from the awards breakfast will be there again, so he does really good work, so
Okay. All
excited.
right. So,
And remember, it's at the Hilton Garden Inn.
right. So new location. So not at the Englert as we
Correct.
have normally had it when it's been in person. This is the Hilton Garden Inn. So please mark your calendars, save the date, and try to make sure we have a good showing from the commission itself. I said the mayor is planning on making some remarks, correct? Okay.
And please share the nomination forms, because it's been 2 years, and I know the youth in this community are doing a lot.
Can you resend that out to all of us? It's always a good prompt for me to have it in my inbox, and I'll make sure I share it on social media and so forth.
Perfect, thank you.
Anything else on youth awards? Okay, agenda item 6, select a month to review our current commission subcommittee and 2020 or 22 strategic plan.
So last meeting, we discussed pushing this back to March
Right.
because we knew this month we were going to be pretty heavily loaded on grant stuff.
Correct.
Does everybody still feel good about that month? Because I know we also, well, I won't speak for the commission. I was also concerned that if we waited too long to start dedicating committees for the commission, we wouldn't have as much time during the year to work on any specific projects, especially if there were long-term things that required a lot of front-end work.
I can just speak for myself. I'll be gone during the March meeting.
Okay.
I'll be actually traveling back from Africa on that day, so I will not make that meeting. So it'll be fine if the majority of the commissioner wants to proceed on March. I would propose we move it to April.
So you can be part of it. I don't blame you.
So I can be part of the discussion.
Well, we've
So I
got
can have-
5 Tuesdays in March, so would it be possible to move it to the 29th?
I was going to ask this too, because it seemed like we've had at least one meeting that overlapped with city council. Did we get off of, because we had moved our meetings to the 4th Tuesday of the month so that we weren't conflicting with the city council meeting.
Correct, and they're actually, but their March meeting is the 4th Tuesday. They bumped it back a week. So the city council meeting in March is on 3/22. So if you meet on the 22nd, you would be meeting during council meeting.
Okay, well, that's a doubly good reason maybe to push it back a week, because we can get Roger there and not conflict with the city council meeting. So is there anybody that have an objection with moving our March meeting from the 22nd to the 29th?
I don't
No,
think
I
that
would like
should be a
that, but it's
problem.
also,
For me, I'm not.
we've come tonight very prepared for this conversation about the grants. So too, we need to come to that meeting very prepared. And what resources would we need to do that?
Right.
Mhm.
So I
Defer to
had
your
committed and I haven't done it yet, so because I was focused on the grants, but to sending out kind of a primer email
Yes,
to everybody with some thoughts or some things,
Yeah.
questions to think about. So you come kind of prepared, having wrapped your brain around some things. And then we need to talk about a facilitator as well. So that was a question I had for Stephanie, which I'm going to ask here in a second.
so we need to have the strategic plan in hand before.
Way
We
before.
need to be familiar with that, but we also need to be familiar with the committee structure.
Okay. So like I said, I will continue that commitment to send out, some material information, through Stephanie to all of you so that we can do some work at least, or I think it would include, typing out some thoughts so that we have that collected ahead of
Yeah.
time, so we can kind of hit the ground running with some of that too.
I do think I heard Ollie unmute for a minute. Did you
Yep.
have anything more to add?
No, thank you so much. I'm very sick actually. Maybe I'm gonna leave soon. But I'll try to stay as I can. Thank you.
Ollie, would March 29th be okay with you if we moved our March meeting to that date?
Yeah, that's what I say. That's good for me. No problem. Thank you.
Okay. Great. Hi, Bijou.
You ready to be here?
Since she just walked in, I'll ask her too. So once you get settled, we are proposing moving our March meeting from March 22nd to the 29th so that we can have Roger attend for our strategic planning meeting. And that would also avoid us conflicting with the city council meeting that night. So any issue with that? Okay. So I will move that we officially move our March meeting from March 22nd to March 29th, same time and place.
I would second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Bye.
Thank you. Okay, so we got that completed so question on that as well, Stephanie, you mentioned the person who had facilitated that before. What was the name again?
The person was Jeff Schott.
Have you spoken with him at all about this
I can
one?
shoot him an email tonight to see if he's available.
Okay, I had
Hope the turnaround will be long enough for him, because I know that usually he sends out stuff.
would you copy me on that?
Sure.
And then maybe I can start a dialogue with him, and
Okay.
if he's available, then we can have a conversation about what to have everybody prepare.
Sure.
So,
Did you
and if
say
he's not
Jeff
available, I
Sheets?
have a couple other potential names as possibilities.
Is it Jeff Sheets?
No, shot.
Jeff Schott. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
So let's try to, we'll see if he's available for that date. And if not, we'll work on that this week. And so I know a few other people that do some facilitations like this in my consulting
great.
contacts. So
Okay.
might be able to have a backup plan if we need it. Okay, item 7, International Transgender Day of Visibility Proclamation. So I assume this is a city council proclamation, Stephanie. What's the date that,
So it would be that Tuesday, the 22nd.
oh, so
Have
perfect.
Kind of have a little meeting
Okay,
for 5 minutes at a city council meeting, but it would be at 6 PM.
okay. Any volunteers that would like to take that one?
I'll be out of the country.
Yep.
I am available if no one else has a burning desire to take that proclamation.
It's
Yours.
great.
Okay, I will do so.
I'm about due to pick one up though, so I will.
I was gonna say,
Probably the
it's
next
been a
one.
minute.
I did like 3 in a row at one point, and then didn't have a little bit of a break, so it's kind of been feast or famine. So I will make sure I'm doing a couple here on the next round.
And they're still at the senior center, correct?
They are, and you have the option of going in person, or they have a hybrid option now.
Okay.
So if you wanted to accept it by virtually, you could.
Okay.
Thank you, Ashley.
Yes.
Anything else on that one so we're good there, Stephanie?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Agenda item 8, Night of 1,000 Dinners sponsorship. So which we agreed to last month, correct?
Yes,
Yes.
and this is just, I know Jason, you expressed interest, but I had sent out an email asking commissioners if anybody was available or not available, was interested and available to attend the event. And I know Bijou's been working hard with them. She's on the planning committee for the event. So 6 PM
I will
March
not
8th.
be available to that.
via Zoom, but if anybody's available, just let me know as soon as possible so I can get you signed up.
So I had a question on that. So, because I know there's a fee normally to attend. So is that covered by the city then as part of our
Yes, yeah,
participation? Okay.
yeah, it's still a contribution to the event. Yeah.
Okay.
Is this a food thing?
It usually is when it's in person, but for the past 2 years, it's been virtual. But
Okay.
you're correct. Yeah, in the past, there's always great, amazing food.
I went to the program virtually last year and it was fantastic. Lots of representation among the arts, various things being showcased. There was a dance component and I think there was a spoken word thing shared last year too. It was very powerful. I greatly enjoyed the event and I thought for having to do it virtually when this has been historically very rooted in a physical space and especially with the food component, I think they did a really great job.
So I missed it last year and I've heard all those reports. And so
Yeah,
I'm trying to make
It
sure
was
I get there
fantastic.
this year.
I can't go this year, but I highly recommend anybody that is available that they do.
Cool. All right. So let Stephanie know if you're interested in attending. It's virtual and it sounds like a powerful program. So, okay. So now we're at the main event for the night. So item 9 is our social justice and racial equity grant review and rankings. I am going to share my screen here so we can call that up. Sure that comes through. Oh, good. That worked. Everybody can see that on their screen.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Is that readable at that size?
I think so.
I could make it a little larger.
Can you make it a little larger?
I ordered another laptop, so maybe if it comes in.
It seems like is it getting cut off or can you see it? Okay.
Yeah, can
Oh,
you
there-
extend
No,
the
it's
actual
okay.
sheet or no?
Yeah, it's full screen on my screen, but it's
Oh,
coming
okay.
through, kind of cut off on the end there. So let's
Okay.
see if I can fix that a little. Nope.
Technology.
It could be something on this, but I have to admit, I'm really.
Give me a second. I'm playing with this to see if
hesitant
that
to
works.
hit something, just because at least we can see.
Nope.
something.
Whenever I extend it out, it cuts it off on that screen. So,
Huh.
oh, so Stephanie, maybe hit escape on your computer. There we go. Does that help?
No.
I can make it bigger.
We made it even smaller.
Now I can make it bigger.
I'll say, if it's just the names cut off, we could always just specify
So I need to do
that as we're going through also.
How's that?
That's fantastic.
But that's good. At least we can
Great.
see it.
There we go.
That's even better.
Okay, so that's even better. So we're gonna have to just, fill in the blanks. It's just like a couple letters are gonna cut off. So,
Yeah.
okay. So first of all, thanks to everyone who went through and scored the grants. I know that's a time consuming, rewarding.
Better.
All day.
Woo-hoo.
Oh, did she fix it?
Yeah.
Ooh, look at
Oh.
that.
Look at that.
Thanks, team.
Daisy's a win.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Keep you around.
Daisy's to the rescue.
We'll keep you around.
I owe you a beer. Okay, so thanks to everybody that took the time to do all this. I know it's time consuming. It's a lot to read, but and I know that it's a lot of time, but it's a rewarding experience to read
It
through all
is.
these
It's
grants.
worth it.
And it's
Yeah.
also a challenge knowing that there are some of these that we're not going to be able to fund.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I have done, so that I can kind of orient you this, so you may have seen this already in the minutes, or the agenda. If not, I took all of your scores. So I have, if I scroll over here, I'll show you this briefly. For everybody that provided scores, I have both your raw score, so your 1 to 100 number,
Mhm.
and then I also took your top to bottom and then gave a ranking number to it.
Thank you.
Right. So, and if you had a tie, so then I split the difference. So you can see, like, for instance, with Sylvia's, she had two that were at 75 points. That was her second and third place grants. And so they each get 2.5 points.
Okay,
So that's what that means if they were tied.
fantastic.
So, yep. So, and I did that all the way across. And so it's two different ways of looking at it, both in terms of what our top picks were from an average score. So you go back here, column D is the composite score.
Yes.
So that's of the number that you gave, the raw score that you gave, and then this is the composite ranking. So this is highest score. Column D would be highest score wins,
Mhm.
and composite ranking would be lowest score wins.
Yes.
That makes
Yes.
sense. Yep.
Yes.
Because if your number one ranked grant would be given 1 point,
Right.
right? So it resulted in slightly different order, but I can say if we go down the list. So this is currently sorted by our top ranking ones.
Yeah.
I can also sort it by
The score,
the score.
which
Right.
kind of will be the same thing.
Yeah, it's-
Well, it's a little different because we touched on this a little bit last time for our previous month's meeting, that because everybody scores differently, like somebody's top score from one commissioner might be
Yeah.
95 points, whereas another might be like 65 points if
Mhm.
you're a really harsh grader. So I think we had settled on the ranking, right, as
Yep.
the best
that's
mode of-
kind of the last few years. That's where we've that's kind of been the more the ranking that we've kind of gone off of. Here's the kind of the good news about it. So if whichever way I rank them, and the order changes slightly, but if I take this column and scroll down, so if you see in the lower right hand corner with the sum, you see a little sum
Yep.
thing down there. So that's a
Yep.
cumulative sum. So we have $75,000 obviously in grants to give out. So as I keep going down, you can see what the cumulative total is.
So based on this, we can fully fund the first 6 projects and still have some money left over for a partial funding of the 7th.
Correct. So if we went with this order, right? And this is the composite score, by the way, so I can change it to the ranking one.
I was gonna say, do we see any organizational shifts or
The
applicant
order
shifts?
changes, but the top 6 are the same.
Okay,
Top 6 will be
Two,
the
three,
That-
top
that was my
7 will be the
question.
Top
same.
7 will be the same. So we can fund. So if we took that order, the top 6 to fund would be the same top 6, whichever score we used. right?
fantastic,
So they were, like 3 and 4 flip around, but they're all in the top 6.
right.
Right.
So
And the
here-
7th one, houses to homes, is
It'll be like half.
in that same position, whichever way I rank it.
Yeah,
So there's a couple strategies here. This is just my thought process.
Yep.
We have so many great projects, and there's so many organizations that want to do good work in the city here. And I know for being in a nonprofit are the most creative people in the world when it comes to doing it. So The easiest way will be we can fully fund the 6-stop project, and whatever left, we can fund the 7th project. Or if we want to fund more project, we can also put a percentage on it. We can say we'll fund every project 75%. I'm just throwing a number out there. That will give us more to keep going down to possibly fund more projects. It won't be fully funded for many of the organizations. That means each organization might have to come up with that 25% in some form of fundraising or things like that. But it extends the number of the organization we fund. Or we can do 80%. But the easiest way will be to say we're gonna fully fund 6 projects, and we're gonna have about $7,500 left, and we say the 7th project will be house to home, which they're asking for 15. That'll be about coming 50% on what they ask.
Yep. So that we should be able to, let's see if I calculated that right. So if we did it that way, we'd have about 10,000 left over. So we'd be able to fund about 10,000 of their 15,000.
Well, and I was curious, so I just double checked. They did say they can do the project with less funding.
Yes. So I
So,
confirm that too.
And I think that goes with most of the projects that they can do with partial fund.
Yep. So there was, I mean, it varied. There was a few that said that
There were
you
a
know,
few that
they were
were-
kind of all, it was all or
Yeah.
nothing kind of thing.
I
So
wanted to address that of these top 7, worker justice, open heartland, Iowa City compassion, youth writing, and houses into homes all said they could take less.
okay.
That was compelling to me.
Yeah.
I also wanted to give voice to, I'll be rather specific. The Sudanese Community Center and the Iowa City Area Chinese Association. I think they're they're below the top 10. But I'm wondering if there's a language issue here in terms of they need to fill out this form with English and the Iowa City Chinese Association. I don't know that I guess does that mean they've received a grant before?
No, the Chinese Association, this is their first time, and they actually were my top
Well, no,
ranking.
what I'm wondering about is that how do I say this? Open Heartland, Sudanese Community Center, Iowa City Area Chinese Association are very specifically protected groups. And in some way, I need them to have our attention more than, did you fill out the form right so we can understand it?
So is your concern that you're worried that their rating or ranking might have suffered because of the language barrier that they had in filling all this out?
I'm just open to that possibility. Although I think the Sudanese group has asked for this amount before.
Correct.
I don't know that they got anything.
Yeah,
but
they have.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have funded them before and their grant application was.
Oh, there it is. It's just a little bit off my screen.
It's similar
so I
to what
couldn't
they've
see
asked
them.
for.
Yeah.
Similar,
I was gonna say,
similar stuff.
when I was
I
reading,
thought I don't want to complicate the night. I want to go home too, but I want to make
you're
sure,
fine. This
I want to
is
make
what we're here
sure
for.
that we're listening.
yeah,
I get you what you're saying, especially, why I score the Chinese Association very high. It was, their amount was low. And we have had this Asian hate stuff going around for this past year.
Yes.
I wanted to make sure that we highlight them and we get them out there so we can really start talking about them. My other concern is also that we have organizations that we have funded before. So are we going to keep funding those organizations, or are we going to give a chance to some new
I
organizations?
think we have a rule that you can only get it twice, right?
I don't even think you guys can read the PowerPoint for how you want to, but I think there is an organization here that has have been funded before.
Yes.
And you can look back at, what was given to the community when you did the presentations. And you also have a state subsidized public school on there too. And so, you have these rules and.
And some of those organizations, we funded them with last fiscal year.
Right. So of our top 7, as you can see, the yes, no is that whether they've received past ones. I took out the multiples because it was just easier for sorting. But
well, and
I will say that at least from how I rated them, I took that into consideration with my ratings.
Yeah.
So they're even though they're still at the top, I actually discounted a little bit on the organizations that have received past funding. And if they've received it more than once, then
Right.
I took that into consideration too. So those, for at least from my perspective, those were still rated highly despite the fact that they had received past funding.
Well, and I think it's important to note additionally too, that the way I interpreted the information that is given through those presentations when I was a presenter for those sessions last year was that it has to be for a different project. So it can't be funding the same exact thing, same exact proposal, same exact initiative, whatever. And I felt like these, even though, as Jason mentioned, they have been past recipients, these were new initiatives, meeting a new need, continuing to advance their mission and social justice through this different aspect of helping the community. So I also took that into account as I was going through and scoring, and I still felt like they were very strong applications.
And to Stephanie's point, I thought similarly about the school district one in that way too. And so it's, I took into account that they are a very large organization with a very
Mhm.
large budget and have, and are more directly funded by tax dollars.
Yeah.
So I took that into consideration as that part of the scoring.
You
That
have the
being said-
university on there too.
What's that?
You have the university on there too.
Yeah,
Yes.
hopefully the
Yep.
university-
So I mean, that was,
Yeah.
I treated them similarly as far as how I viewed that grant. I mean, it doesn't disqualify them, but it's,
Well, no,
It's a
the
factor.
rules from the public were that they could not be a primary candidate.
okay.
That is what is in the PowerPoint that's on the website. If they're funded by the state, then, I mean, that would be true.
Okay, well, yeah, because
So,
we had
you
one
know-
last year that was that they were a partner on the entrepreneurial, because there was an entrepreneurial certificate one that a different group was partnering with the College of Business to provide it, but we can still consider that because it was a different organization that was primary. They were just
Right.
using some of the resources from Tippy that we didn't end up funding that grant because it didn't score high enough.
Yeah.
But so are you questioning whether or not
No, I'm just saying that that there were rules and people relied on those rules.
Yes.
And so somebody might not have
so, yeah.
wanted to submit one because they couldn't find a primary applicant. So, I mean, it's ultimately up to the commission, but I think moving forward, there needs to be consistency. It's
Yeah.
not just that, well, I took that into account I mean, if it says that a state subsidy has to be a secondary and not a primary, I mean, either it doesn't need to be there when you guys have actually, looking back on it, I think that came from council. I don't even think that was discretionary to the commission. I think they
so-
felt
It's a council
that
edict
if they were state subsidy, then that if they had such a great idea, then they should be, when they go to their budgets, they should be selling these because it's all out of the same.
So then they should be soliciting city dollars for them because they're already,
No, they should be soliciting university indoor.
yeah, that's what I
Iowa
mean.
City
They should not be soliciting city dollars for their
Yeah.
projects.
So
Okay.
is that disqualifies kind of the university and also the school district?
Well, I mean, like I said, you guys are
It's
the
gonna be our decision, I
deciders.
think.
I mean, this
Yeah.
is the rankings you've had, but I'm just saying moving forward that if I was somebody who applied, I think there needs to be consistency in the rules.
Well, I will say I am rethinking that now because I mean, I rated the University of Iowa one fairly highly.
I didn't read that one.
Well, you
either.
look at it, it came out,
I was thinking of Steph notes from the PowerPoint. I was thinking, well, this is a universe. I don't think I rated them too high
Mhm.
because of that, because I was like, why is the university not?
Sure.
Well, and I have opinions about how the funding
Yeah,
is
but it's all-
distributed at the
it's kind
university
of a-
level, but yeah, they would fall under that umbrella. And then I hear what Stephanie's saying, and I think that is something that we need to be consistent and fair on with our scoring.
if that's the case, then I would suggest we remove the university and the school district and the College of Dentistry from all this because they can apply to the university and to the college, to the school district.
Okay. What are other?
Well, I'd agree with that. I also think that if the university writing project would apply for a grant, I would like to think that they would be exceptional in terms of filling out the form, which of course they were.
Yep, that's true, Mark.
But because of the criteria, I think it's appropriate to remove those three from consideration.
Do we have it? Do we need a motion on that?
Anything?
And no motions on the floor, so I think you're fine proceeding how you want.
I don't want.
Well, I don't think we need a motion because of ultimately we're going to have a motion to approve what, what our ultimate
Yeah.
decisions are. So for now, I'm just highlighting those and taking them out, and then we can continue to debate which projects we do want to fund.
So we're talking about the university youth writing project, the Iowa City School District, the university mobile clinic.
Yeah.
And we also have
The dental one. Oh, there it is.
American Dental Association.
Second to bottom, yeah.
But then we also have the Kirkwood Iowa City Food Pantry.
I think
which we
that's
have-
different.
And I'm
Yeah,
not,
fine.
I mean, without inquiring, but the Iowa chapter of American Student, I mean, that might not be, I mean, that may be the equivalent. of
That's
like
their own
that.
thing.
Yeah, that's their own thing. So they happen to be University of Iowa students, but they're their own organization.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so that's fair. Although, I mean, they're
I was gonna
pretty
say,
low
do
on
they
the
get
ranking, so it may be
university
moot, really, but-
funding for?
That should be in their proposals that you read. I mean, that's one of the questions is,
Yeah, I believe that was in there.
and I-
Well,
So if we
I just
push
looked
those
here.
three down, what is our top? I'm still suggesting that we either look at funding the top project fully and dividing the partial, or looking at scaling down some of those projects. Me personally, I would like to see the Iowa City Chinese Association getting some fund. It's $3,000. It's a very small fund. Especially with everything we have experienced with the Asian hate and highlighting that organization in our community can only do us some good. So,
yeah, I had interacted with some of them, throughout the last year and everything too.
Yeah.
So, and got to know some of them. So I was really,
I'm also appreciating that, for example, I'll just use Center for Worker Justice because it's up near the top, that they're willing to take less than their request.
yeah.
And I think we should take that into account so we can spread it out a little bit.
I agree.
What organization couldn't do without partial funding? I
The
think
Multicultural Development Center of Iowa said, no, they needed the 10 grand.
they're doing a lot of amazing work, especially.
and that's our top
That's
ranked
our
one.
top
If there's
ranking.
anyone you're going to fully fund, it's probably the one that's
And the
our,
Great Plain Action Society, they only wanted 5,000. But I was so taken there. I thought their application was so compelling.
I agree.
I agree.
So if we're looking at what is our total will be if we look at funding multicultural fully?
so I just got that. So if I took out the Iowa Youth Writing Project,
Yes.
so you can see these top three and the next three here, that's 74,000 and change. That's like right on our number, essentially.
We have a couple organizations there that they're willing to take some partial funding, like
So we
Houses
could,
to
so if
Home.
we wanted to fund, for instance, you could fully fund the Chinese Association because it's a small amount by shaving up a smaller number off of one of the other grants.
Because if we took out we can replace the youth writing already that funds the Chinese Association and with some change left.
Right. So I mean, but we'd have to, so I have the top six now. So take
Yes.
out the University Writing Project. So
Yes.
that the top six, so not including university, is at 75. So
So-
if we fully funded, so you have to, in order to fund Chinese Association, you'd have to.
Well, let's look at the big three.
So let me just talk about numbers then, so that if looking at the Center for Worker Justice, who said that they could take less.
Yep.
Then,
And they're the largest amount.
If we put them
so
at
what I
15,
was looking at is that, okay, so if you just take, we just take, say, 10,000 is our ceiling for things, and and like Iowa City Compassion, if they got 10,000 instead of 15,000, which, by the way, I thought that was a brilliant example of what we're trying to fund.
yes.
And houses into homes, it would be 10,000, and so you'd still be giving, and so you could spread that out. This Kirkwood Iowa City Food Pantry, that's a campus that has a lot of students that have a lot of necessity.
Well, if we do the 10,000 like you're talking, Mark, we save 9,000 from worker justice, 5,000 from compassion, 5,000 from houses to home. We can also do 10,000 to Kirkwood because the 5+ from compassion and houses to home already funds the food pantry, 10,000 if we're giving them ceiling. Then
Now, they said, the food pantry said they got to have the whole show, but we don't have that kind of money.
we don't have that whole money. So
But we
if they
certainly
need it,
recognize that food is a human right.
but if they can, I just don't know why they will need the whole, because if you read the application, you know, they're talking about buying some of the culturally food, which I understand, but you can also scale it back.
I'll say I wasn't sure if there had been previous research done as to why they had that specified amount of the number of vouchers and why that couldn't be scaled back, even if it didn't quite fully meet the need.
Yeah,
It would work toward
Will
meeting the
meet
need and they could
some
work
need.
toward building that program.
yeah. I feel like rather meet some needs than no need at all. You know, I'd rather have 10,000 to put toward the food pantry than not put anything at all. I don't know
wondered
if
they were
anybody
buying-
here from
They need to buy equipment.
the Kirkwood Food Pantry.
Yeah.
No. Because they either not gonna get anything.
Yeah.
So if they gung ho about they need the whole thing or not, then they leaning toward not getting anything.
So I'm just doing a little number crunching here. So I created a new column with, if we capped amounts at $10,000.
We can either cap the amount at 10,000 or we can look at a percentage. Yeah, okay, 75% of what they ask.
I like the idea of capping a little more, especially since that means that at least our top two are fully funded. You know, because I think, you know, the higher ones should get priority. That's at least my take on it.
Yes.
Instead of shaving, instead of being a percentage all the way down.
I agree. If they came up on the top two, they should be fully funded because
Yep.
we give them that much regard.
So we could fund, so that I got. So right, the top, you know,
About 6.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, the top 7,
What is the total on the,
that's
Top 7.
65 or 64 and change. So we'd have 10 more thousand to spend. If we included the Chinese Association, so we could fully fund that one. And I agree about the deference of, it's a
Yeah.
new organization that hasn't asked for funding before. It's an, you know, it's an important one to recognize. That puts
I
us at
agree.
67. That still gives us about 8,000 to spend on one or multiple additional
So-
ones.
you're talking about 8,000 left, so we have to look at Kirkwood.
No, that's Kirkwood's funded at 10,000.
Oh, Kirkwood is funded at 10,000.
So if we capped it at 10,000, we can include Kirkwood. We can include the Chinese Association, and then
So we have to look at
Steve
between,
and Sudanese Community Center would not be funded, so that, but we still have 8,000 to spend.
but if we have 8,000, if we're not gonna fund the bottom two, maybe we can split that 8,000 up there.
For ones we've already funded, or for
The one that we already funded.
okay,
So maybe we can increase Senator Walker Justice instead of 10, we give them 12.
Okay.
We come back to Iowa City Compassion, give them 12. Houses
that
to
for all?
home, 12.
this is at 70. So we got about 1,000 left, about 1,500 left to spend. So I could, you know, up that to 12,500 or something.
12,500, yes.
That puts us at just under, you know, basically 70, rounded up to 75,000. And we could fund our top 3, the next 3 below, the writing project, the Kirkwood Community Food, the Kirkwood Iowa City Food Pantry at 10,000 and and this Chinese Association at 3,000. That would total right at our number.
You're not including the writing project, right?
I'm not
No.
including the writing project there.
No.
That's
Not the writing project, not the school district
correct.
project.
Correct. Those are that.
In Kirkwood, I mean, I didn't read the submission, so I mean, that would be a commissioner discretion, but are they considered a public institution?
Yeah, that was my
I'm
question.
starting to think that too. When I looked at their application and they're basically looking for food vouchers. I'm sorry, I thought they were looking for like equipment purchases,
No,
refrigeration,
No.
that kind of thing.
They want to
It's not.
increase equitable access to ethnic groceries
Food
and
pantries.
foods.
And the way you
Food
just
pantry.
did it, Roger, is the 3,000 for the Chinese Association included in that?
yes.
Yes. So we took Kirkwood back out, then we would have 10,000 to spend, which would basically allow us to fully fund the ones that we had cut up above.
I like spreading it out a little bit more, right?
If we take out the Kirkwood,
Yeah, so we took out Kirkwood.
And so rather than giving it back right away, like can anybody articulate for Aztec Planning LLC? It looks like it's a networking kind of resourcing. Working with groups to help them become more effective and how they affect how the environment affects protected groups.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember.
that's kind of what it is. But I think the cultural, multicultural development center is doing kind of the same work
I see.
in
Thank you.
the bigger level, for lack of a better word.
Okay.
So right now I have, if we came back and said, we're not going to fund Kirkwood because of, being a public, being closer to a public entity,
That's
that
correct.
would allow us to fully fund. And so I'll just do this again. Fully fund this is our top 6, not including university. And Chinese Association, that puts us at 77. So we have to shave 2,000 off. So we could take 2,000 off Center for Worker Justice or something like that, since there's a large amount. And then we could 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which is a little farther down than we've normally gotten. We usually fund 5
Yeah.
or so, 5 or 6.
The only organization there that we didn't really fund, but we have funded them in the past, it's the Sudanese Community Center. And we have funded them in the past. Looks like we funded them actually twice, I believe.
Yeah.
And I read that grant it seemed very similar for what they're asking for, almost a very similar
Yeah.
programming that they.
I thought it was almost exactly the same,
Pretty
if not
close.
the same proposal from last year, which.
Which is great work. I
It
just.
is, yeah, it's very
I tended
important.
to more heavily weight the organizations that are doing something new or different, or that, that was unique or that we haven't funded before.
Well, and the hope is that this initial funding is helpful in getting folks to a place where they can either fund a one-time initiative or become sustainable to work toward building a program in the future. And they do amazing, wonderful work. I guess I'd hoped that that program would have been a little more sustainable given the funding that we've previously provided.
Okay, so thoughts on kind of where we're at, if there's, so the kind of the current status quo is,
We're funding 3 organizations fully, which is the Multicultural, Open Heartland, and Chinese Association. Actually, there's more. And
no,
Great Plains.
right now I've got fully funded all those top 6 plus the Chinese Association, although we'd have to take 2,000 back from somebody in order to make the budget work.
you have fully funded the top 6.
Yep.
Even comparison, I see 12.5 here.
I went back to the original amounts. So, since we didn't fund Kirkwood,
Or the green.
so let me take the highlight.
So
off.
we have all these organizations fully funded, and including the Chinese Association.
So yeah, so let me put that in yellow, so that makes it easier. So everything in yellow right now is $77,000, fully funded.
$77,000.
Yep.
But
So
we have 75.
correct. So if we took 2,000 off of one or multiples, then we could fully fund those 7 projects.
Well, let's take that 900 off of houses to home, just round it to 15.
I'll leave that original amount so I don't screw it up.
Sorry, Jason.
That's okay. I'm thinking out loud, so I don't 15,000. So that's 900, and then we'd have to another 1,000 off of somebody.
So since CWJ was the biggest ask, I'm wondering if it,
So you could do like-
others feel it would be appropriate
Put them
to,
at 18.
yeah,
Like
Take
that.
care of it, yeah,
and they were willing to do with less.
Yeah.
correct.
I think you want to bump I See Compassion back up, right, Jason?
Oh, yes, thank you. I didn't carry those over. So 15, 2, 3.
There's just so many good projects.
There were
Next
very
year,
many good
when we
projects.
get our bump, we'll be able to fund them all.
That's it. This is why we're gonna ask.
That Iowa City Compassion, I mean, talk about a grassroots thing.
Yeah,
So this,
Brand new.
they do great work.
so now that if you see column C, everything that's highlighted in yellow and column B, so that's with those adjusted amounts, that puts us right at 75,000.
Well, we're
75,000,
technically a little over. I feel like we probably
75
can't
to
go over our.
1,285.
Uh-huh.
Maybe we can get 285 out of our budget. Just to put over there.
So in order to meet with the council, we could ask for that, but we could just take another $285 off of this, So I just did, so 280.
You can take 285 right there out of Open Ireland. Just put them at 9.
Did we agree, or did somebody say that Open Heartland was willing to accept less? I can't remember.
It's 285.
I feel like that's in the
It is
grand scheme of,
definitely
in the
285,
grand scheme of
ironically.
things, probably not.
If they're gonna refuse that 9,000 because of that 285, we have a problem.
Okay, so let's redo this now. So funding all the projects in yellow but at the amounts that you see highlighted there. That's, how did I get to 76? I screwed that up.
I thought you were messing with Center for Worker Justice. I guess not.
Oh, that's right. We put them
Yeah,
at,
we
we
put
put them
them
at
at
18.
18.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, but I moved that back. Sorry. That's what I did. We are at 75,000 exactly to the penny.
Okay.
So move.
So
I
say, how
would
does everyone
second that.
feel about
So, let's take a breath and
Let's discuss it first.
this? Is a lot. And
so this
it's
would,
very
so just to
important.
reiterate, this would be, so so the column C amounts for Multicultural Development Center of Iowa, fully funding at 10. Not a slight decrease of funding Open Heartland at 9,000, funding Center for Worker Justice at 18,000, Great Plains at 5,000, which is what they asked for. I See Compassion at 15, which is what they asked for. Houses into Homes at 15, which is $900 less than they asked for, and the Chinese Association at 3,000, which is fully funded. And that puts us to the penny perfect.
I like that. I think next year we need to look at some of those organizations that are coming every year. I hate for this grant funding to become their permanent funding.
Right.
Right.
And it's
That's
it's been proposed in the budget, I believe, to increase our the funding for next year from 75 to $100,000.
Yes.
We asked
oh,
for
we
that.
We asked
might
for, I'm
have.
pretty sure what's been proposed in the budget's 100 though, because it
We
increased to
asked for
25.
150, but it
I don't
didn't-
believe council, though, they haven't had a discussion on it yet.
They haven't. So, but that's what that was in the budget proposal, but so
in the
that has not been
budget proposal,
finalized.
it was increased by 25,000.
Call your city council person and tell them to increase that amount off the proposal.
Yeah, Tony,
Yes.
call your city council person, Tony.
No, another.
Oh, and Ollie has his hand up. Or
Haven't voted
I
on
see.
this yet.
I see that he's raised his hand, although
Who did?
Ollie online,
Got his hand up.
I'm not sure if that was intentional or not.
Yeah, I'm here. Just gonna leave and before I leave, just I want to announce when the agenda for the announcement. For the last month, I believe, I nominate like the new president for the CWG.
New president for the CWJ.
Who, you are the new president for CWG or?
Right, right, both of them.
Oh,
Both of them?
Fantastic. Congratulations.
Wow.
Jane, what's the other one?
in the Sudanese Association.
I thought Mazahir was a
So
CWG.
guess who can't vote?
No,
Executive.
Mazahir, he's Mazahir.
Even Ali, you're the president of the board.
Director.
You're a busy guy.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
that's why I hear you guys didn't dislike to put any opinion about what you said all
That's
the
right.
last
We-
34
we
minutes.
You're in the same boat with you, too.
I know you need to go, so, but I appreciate that
Yeah.
you raised your hand so you could share that with us so that we could say congratulations. That's great.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Good work, buddy.
Thank you. Bye bye. Take care. Good luck, guys.
All right, so back on the grant.
Okay, so
Look like
any
we have
other,
a
so kind of like going
consensus.
once, going twice, any other changes? So that our standing proposal, kind of where we're at is what you see in column C. Okay, so let me just do this. I'm gonna, just so that everybody can. I'm going to highlight in yellow the amounts that we have proposed. Correct? Yep, that's right.
Yep.
So what you see in yellow is what we've proposed, and that is exactly $75,000. Any other suggestions, changes, discussion?
As a matter of discussion, not to prolong the, when you consider the Chinese Association's request, also, I think we need to accommodate their reporting because it's a single event. And so they're very optimistic, but it's a small amount and I think we want to support them.
Yeah.
So also we want to support them in their report and maybe facilitate that.
Yeah, we can certainly discuss that with them. Okay. That I will entertain a motion to approve so I would say to entertain a motion to recommend these grant amount awards to the city council.
So move.
I would second it. Oh, Tony will second. it.
Tony will
Tony's
take it.
So moved by
Okay.
Mark Priest, seconded by Tony. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
5-0.
5-0.
Just to
5-0.
point out that Bijou isn't voting.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
I didn't hear her say anything, so she was.
I was gonna say, she did a really
she was
great
obeying the
job
rules.
staying silent and avoiding contributing.
Destiny, you
That would
think
be
you can
hard.
Share that spreadsheet with us at some point.
Yes,
What we recommended.
well, it'll be part of the minutes
Yes.
for sure.
okay,
But
good.
if since we won't see those, would you mind? I can send this to you and sending it out to the full commission for
Sure,
what we
that would be
recommended.
great.
Okay.
I am pleased we funded some great organization. We have a lot of great organization here, and it's not easy trying to fund some and not others. But the organization that we have funded is doing great social service work. So we should
Yeah.
be very proud to have this organization in our community. So,
Yeah, those some very good projects, and 5 out of the 7 have not received funding from us before. So those are new organizations to us that that for funding. So I'm excited about that.
I'll say third time around doing this now, it never gets any easier.
no, it doesn't.
Picking awardees and deciding appropriate amounts because I mean we are on a limited budget and I think once again, we have helped and assisted with doing the most good with the dollars that we have and hopefully we see those dollars go up very, very soon.
So we had almost $250,000 in requests. So, and obviously 75,000 is far less than is less than a third of that. So,
Am I allowed to talk now?
oh,
Yeah.
yes.
If they moved on from the.
Oh, yeah. So,
We already voted, Bijou. You can
Yep.
talk now.
so yeah, so that agenda item is closed. So you're free to speak.
I can have suggestion of next time. please?
I was gonna say, we
Oh, yeah,
actually, we
you
need to
can.
talk about a month to go over suggested grant
You
changes.
need to use a microphone, Bijou?
I'm sorry?
Does she need to use a microphone?
No, I can speak loudly. So I have a very loud voice.
Project.
I don't know if you want me to do that, but I can speak loud.
Okay.
I also think that moving forward, like even though we have, like all these proposals and stuff, like we should also consider this organization, even though they have a new project, how many projects they are working on at the same time and how many different grants they are having
Yes.
and they haven't used or they're trying to use because somehow, you still can't hear me?
Now I can.
Somehow, they might have so many grants for so many different projects and they forgot or they're behind doing them. It's great to fund, organizations and stuff, but like we have to look at how many projects they're taking upon at that time.
Yes.
I would add to what Bijou's saying too. I try to stay conscientious and aware of the fact that there are a lot of these organizations that even when they do ask for grant funding from other sources, they are at times extremely limited in what they can use those dollars toward and for, how they can allocate those within their organizations and for specific projects. I think it would be nice moving forward. At least one of the applicants, I really appreciated that they specified the why behind why they did or did not choose to pursue additional grant funding and gave some specifics toward that. I think that would be helpful to know moving forward as a consideration.
So our agenda item is to actually select a month to put on our agenda a larger discussion around improvements we can make to this process, right? So obviously March is our strategic planning, so that's kind of booked. And I'd like to do it sooner rather than later while it's fresh in our minds that we just did this. We wait till later in the year where we've forgotten a lot of these lessons.
Agreed.
So please, as you're thinking of them, write them down, make a note of it so you can contribute to that. So I would propose that we add that to our April agenda to talk through so that we have plenty of lead time for next year's process.
I agree.
March, what do we change it to?
29.
29.
29th.
So our April meeting will include an agenda item on updates, improvements that we'll vote on to make changes to that. I would also add that in addition to what additional questions or information we want to ask, that we also go back through the rubric or in the requirements in those grant applications and what questions might we remove. So,
Yes.
as you were scoring those, there were certain questions that I focused a lot on what they answered, and I found myself in a lot of not thinking that some of them were terribly relevant.
Yeah.
So it's really easy that we say, well, I'd like to see this and this, and we keep adding on, and we make this a very, very long application.
Yeah,
So-
I don't want it to create additional barriers or obstacles for
Right.
applicants.
So also keep an eye, taking a read through and keep an eye on how can we streamline the application so we can include more information that would be very relevant, but without making the form so long that it's a burden to apply.
Agreed.
Okay.
In ACTRA meeting, the recommendations go to council for their approval.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yep.
Okay, gotcha. So that would be to vote on recommendations to council for how we would change the grant process. Okay.
Did someone put forth a motion for April?
I don't think.
I don't think
Do we need to do that?
Nope.
Fantastic.
We have that in our discretion just to say, put it on the agenda. Okay. Any other comments on that one? Final agenda item, staff and commission announcements. So I'll just go my left to right. So Bijou, any announcements?
Oh, really? My daughter actually got a certificate. Project that she's been doing for years, but she applied for the grants, got approved for the grants, but since the project started before, and she didn't get like she at least got a certificate. And on that project, her next thing is want to interview certain people like the city manager. She want to interview you guys, or you guys to invite you guys to come to school and speak. Stephanie, please, you're the first person. You are her first person on the list.
Okay.
So I appreciate Stephanie, the city of Iowa City and climate change department for recognizing her, and like you encourage her, and it's gonna encourage a lot of youth to do a lot of good things. So
Very cool. I
Awesome
enjoyed
work.
reading the social media posts.
And we give kudos to her mother for teaching her the right thing.
Here, here. Okay, on a much more less upbeat note. I did want to just call attention to, for anybody who hadn't heard, last week, there was a suspicious package found in front of Emma Goldman Clinic with all of the kerfuffle going on around Roe versus Wade, or Roe v. Wade right now. I think they've been seeing a lot more violence and negative comments and things directed toward them. So I put up a post on social media about it, just expressing support for the staff and the clients there. If folks feel so moved to do so, I encourage them to do so also. Last Saturday was also the 80th anniversary of Japanese internment here in the States. There was a day of remembrance, and I just think, especially given the last couple of years, especially the increased violence we've seen toward the AAPI community, just to be cognizant of that. 80 years for some seems like it was a long time away, but it really wasn't that long ago for
People
us.
still
So
walking around here that were part of that. So
exactly, yeah. So I just wanted to bring awareness to that and recognize that.
Tony,
I've just been working a lot. Been kind of busy this month with working in Iowa legislators. You're on my social media, you see me talk about it a lot past couple of days. But for 21 bills were introduced, anti-LGBTQ bills. And with the Senate being Republican, I don't like the politics out there. It's a little worrisome. So, and an anti-trans for just girls, it seems athletic bill is going to go for a vote. And that's the first time that we have not, in past, I think 5 years, with me working for One Iowa, has not have, usually it's not struck down before we get to vote. So we're a little scared right now. On a more positive note, though, I just got back from Florida. Well, you're not positive.
Not positive that you're back. You're not happy about the weather.
I may have spent 20 minutes like taking the ice off my truck since Iowa Airport doesn't have covered parking.
flying back from me. That's always a
But my team did get third place out of 32 teams.
cool.
So
Congrats.
for those that are public, I play a lot of softball. every month is always a softball announcement. So
We look forward to those updates.
yeah. Other than that, that's it.
Great. Roger.
Well, it's February, it's Black History Month. I received the proclamation on behalf of the human rights from the City Council beginning of this month. And, I'm always outspoken that we cannot fit Black history in 1 month. We have, Black history is every month, every day. We are making history. So we as a human right, we need to keep pushing that to stop teaching Black history as a footnote to American history. We need to include that in everyday history. And I'm also a big outspoken on, there's a lot of company out there in month of February, we celebrate Black history, we hire Black people. I want to see company hire Black people also in June, in July and August. We don't, we get the shortest month to celebrate Black history and the coldest month. Maybe they should have given us July so we can have barbecue. Something. So as we're thinking of, Black history is ending, we need to keep pushing human rights. Black history, it's everyday history. I'm not just Black in February, I'm Black 24/7, 365 days a year. So that's something that we need to keep being outspoken about, and not just to highlight February. You see, that's when our kids learn about Martin Luther King. They should be learning about him also in June and July and in May. So there's a lot of events going on. So attend those events. For my Black History Month, since I love to eat, I've been visiting Black-owned restaurants. So went to Crab Attack in Cedar Rapids and Vivian's Place. So please, the only way you can, since we only have February, go support some of the Black-owned businesses in town. We have some here in town to go to Crab for breakfast or something. So I can tell you all the restaurants owned by Black people. So thank you.
I'm continuing to be part of the 1619 project with my denomination. If I'm home by 7, I'll tune in for the 4th session. Tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, I'll be with the Iowa Interfaith Alliance anti-racism workshop. That's usually an hour, and we talk about activities that we're doing. On Thursday, I'll be viewing the only one. I think, Stephanie, you arranged that for us, a movie about what's it like to be the only black kid in the classroom in those kinds of situations. On Sunday, I was a preacher and I referenced a sermon by C.T. Vivian. You know C.T. Vivian? C.T. Vivian was on the executive committee of Martin Luther King Jr. Barack Obama gave him the Presidential Medal of Honor. He preached at Wartburg Seminary and on a text from the Torah, Genesis 37:20. Let us kill the dreamer and see what becomes of his dream. This is a reference to the story of Joseph, whose brothers sold him into slavery. So it's human trafficking in the Bible. And that what did happen, and Joseph was able to welcome his brothers back and protect them during a famine. So it's just having that in mind, just telling you about it, and seeing CT give this talk in Dubuque. Just mindful, it's in the Bible. Let us kill the dreamer and see what becomes of the dream.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
I'd say it's just two things for me to add. One is this coming Saturday is the Martin Luther King Day Youth Summit, which was rescheduled from MLK weekend because of COVID. So that's happening at the Robert A. Lee Rec Center on Saturday from 2 to 5, and there's a social event after that as well. So been part of the planning committee for that, and that's been fun, and got to interact and meet with some newer folks. Also, I wrote this down because I was reminded of it with the Rogers focus on Black History Month, is that I put a social media post out there as well about George Washington Carver, which I thought was just a fascinating piece of history, that
It was very
when he was
interesting.
what is now Iowa State, was even called that at the time, that he was part of a cadet corps. And because the cadet corps technically reported directly to Adjutant General, he was a member of the National Guard.
That's right.
So George Washington Carver is a fellow National Guard soldier. So that makes me very proud. I thought that was a very cool piece of history.
Well, and more than that, in the story was that he couldn't get into Kansas because they wouldn't let him into school. So that's why he came to Iowa State.
That's right. So we have a proud history in Iowa of a lot of groundbreaking things, both at the University of Iowa and Iowa State, as far as Black history goes, I think. So lots of work to do, but there's some bright spots to highlight and to be proud of. So with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So move.
And Bijou second.
Oh, we need Stephanie.
Oh, Stephanie, of course. You have right that order.
Staff
Daisy,
announcements.
you know,
Staff.
Daisy saved the day.
Yeah,
Here I am. I'm jumping the gun.
Well, not much other than we are starting planning for Kites for Kids. So myself, Rakisha over at Parks and Rec, and a couple other city staff are on the Preventing Child Abuse Johnson County and Community Partnerships for Preventing Children boards. So we haven't done it in 2 years. So this will be the first time we do it since COVID. So
Yay.
that's something we got going on sometime in April. And our peanut butter drive is still happening, not just for us, but for community as a whole. They have places all over the place, and it goes until Monday. So if you have still grocery shopping to do, you can add some peanut butter to your list.
Stephanie.
And I was just, Daisy, do you want to introduce yourself just because there's new folks that, because they may
Oh,
not,
right.
yeah.
My bad. Hello, I am Daisy Torres. I'm the community outreach assistant over at the Iowa City Police Department. I serve as a liaison, so anywhere we can collaborate with the Human Rights Commission, or if there's anything that I can do to help their mission, I'm here for that.
Thank you. And I'm Stephanie Bowers, and I'm the Human Rights Coordinator here at the city. And I think the only thing I was going to mention is that we still have some complimentary tickets to the African American Museum of Iowa that are left over from when we did Black History Trivia Night. So if anybody is interested, just let me know and I will get those in the mail for you.
Yes, I'd love to take, my kids have not been up there yet, so I think.
Okay. They're good through, I think, like May 2nd or something.
Okay.
Great place.
So that's all I have.
Great. Okay, so Thank you for stopping me from that. So we hear from them. Next time I'm writing that down so that I don't skip over it. So it's been moved and seconded for adjournment, I believe. So all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you
Cool,
all.
guys.
See you March 29th.